The Holocaust began in 1941 and ended May 8, 1945. During this time, Hitler ordered the death of over 6 million Jewish Europeans and others he claimed as undesirables, such as homosexuals or gypsies. Many don't know what the word Holocaust actually means. It comes from the Greek word holos, whole, and kostos, burned. The word originally was used to describe a sacrificial offering being burned on an altar. But ever since the end of the Holocaust in 1945, the word has taken on a completely new meaning. April 20th, 1889. Hitler was born in Braunau am Inn, Austria. Hitler's father died in 1903. He and his mother moved to Vienna in 1905, where Hitler acquires his anti-Semitic views, and shortly after, in 1907, his mother dies as well. Hitler lives in Vienna in hopes of attending the Art Academy and becoming a great artist. He was denied from the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts twice. 1914 to 1918, Adolf Hitler serves in World War I. November 10, 1918, Germany is defeated, and like many others, Hitler blames the Jews for the country's loss. 1919, Hitler joins the German Workers' Party. Hitler placed an advertisement for a meeting to join the German Workers' Party in an anti-Semitic newspaper, and just over 100 people showed up. Hitler spoke at this meeting and astounded everyone with an emotional speech. The German Workers' Party held many meetings in which Hitler spoke against the Treaty of Versailles and delivered anti-Semitic tirades blaming the Jews for Germany's problems. Attendance slowly increased, and the German Workers' Party reached 3,000 members by the end of 1920. Hitler changed the name for the party to the National Socialist German Workers' Party, NSDAP, or called for short, the Nazis. July 1921, Hitler is named the leader of the Nazi Party. 1924. Hitler goes on trial for treason after the beer hall putsch. Hitler was allowed to use the courtroom as a propaganda platform for which he could speak as long as he wished on his own behalf, interrupt others, and cross-examine witnesses. Hitler became a nationally and internationally known figure overnight due to massive press coverage. Newspapers quoted pretty much everything Hitler said during his trial, and for the first time, the German people had a chance to get acquainted with Hitler's thinking, and many liked what they heard. April 1st, 1924. Hitler is sentenced to 5 years in prison for treason. During his imprisonment, he wrote his memoir and propaganda piece Mein Kampf, My Struggle, in which he predicted a European war resulting in the extermination of the Jewish race in Germany. Hitler was released on February 25, 1925, after only 9 months in prison. 1929 to 1930. Hitler and the Nazis rose to power during the Great Depression. The Great Depression began, and middle-class families were cast into poverty and misery. They searched for any solution. Hitler knew his opportunity had arrived. The German people were tired of their government and tired of desperate times and misery. They were willing to listen to anyone. 1932. Hitler runs for president against current President Paul von Hindenburg. Hitler campaigned knowing he was unlikely to win against Hindenburg, but his campaign was an opportunity for him and the Nazis to win support for himself and his party and to increase the Nazi influence. On April 10, 1932, Hindenburg won the election with a total of 19,359,983 votes, or 53%, and Hitler with a total of 13,418,547 votes, or 36%. January 30th, 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany by President Hindenburg. March 1933, the first Nazi concentration camp at Dachau is opened. At first, the Nazis reserved their harshest persecution for political opponents such as communists or social democrats. Many of the first prisoners sent to Dachau concentration camp were communists. August 2, 1934, President Hindenburg dies of lung cancer at age 86, and Hitler declares himself as Führer, becoming Germany's supreme leader. September 15, 1935. Hitler announces the Nuremberg Laws. Under these laws, anyone with 3 or 4 Jewish grandparents were considered a Jew, while those with 2 Jewish grandparents were considered half-breeds. Under the Nuremberg Laws, Jews became targets for persecution and stigmatization. This caused the Night of the Broken Glass in November 1938, where German synagogues were burned and windows in Jewish shops were smashed. Approximately 100 Jews were killed that night and thousands were arrested. September 1939, the Second World War begins, and the German army occupies the western half of Poland. German police soon forced tens of thousands of Polish Jews into ghettos. These ghettos were surrounded by high walls and barbed wire, and worked like captive city-states governed by Jewish councils. The widespread unemployment, poverty, hunger, and overpopulation made the ghettos breeding grounds for disease. Throughout the spring and summer of 1940, the German army conquered Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, and France. In the beginning of 1941, Jews from all over Europe and hundreds of thousands of gypsies were taken to the Polish ghettos. June 1941, the German army invaded the Soviet Union and murdered more than 500,000 Soviet Jews and others. July 31, 1941. Hitler's top commander Hermann Göring demanded a final solution to the Jewish question. Beginning in September 1941, every person considered a Jew in German-held territory was marked with a yellow star, making them open targets. Tens of thousands of Jews were soon deported to the Polish ghettos and German-occupied cities in the Soviet Union. Since June of 1941, the Nazis had been experimenting with mass killing methods at the Auschwitz concentration camp. August 1941, 500 Nazi officials gassed 500 Soviet POWs to death with the pesticide Zyklon B. Soon after, a huge order for the pesticide was placed with a German pest control firm, an ominous indicator of the coming Holocaust. Late 1941, Germans began mass transports from the Polish ghettos to the concentration camps, starting with those viewed as not useful, such as the sick, the old, the weak, and the very young. March 17, 1942, the first mass gassings began. From 1942 to 1945, Jews were being deported to concentration camps all over Europe. At Auschwitz alone, over 2 million Jews were gassed in a process similar to a large-scale industrial operation. Summer 1944, a large proportion of Hungary's Jewish population was deported to Auschwitz. As many as 12,000 Jews were being murdered every single day. Spring 1945, Hitler's reign was coming to an end as many political allies were seeking to take power. In Hitler's last will and political testament, dictated in a German bunker April 29, 1945, he blamed the war on international Jewry and its helpers, and urged the German people and leaders to follow the strict observance of the racial laws and with merciless resistance against the universal poisoners of all peoples, the Jews. April 30, 1945, Hitler committed suicide. Not even a week later, on May 8, 1945, Germany formally surrendered in World War II. 1945 to 1946, the Allies held the Nuremberg trials as an effort to punish the villains responsible for the Holocaust. This brought the Nazis' atrocities to light, which put pressure on the Allied powers to make a homeland for Jewish survivors. This led to a mandate for the creation of Israel in 1948. With the years that followed, Germans struggled with the Holocaust legacy, as survivors searched for compensation of the wealth and property that was confiscated during the Nazi years. Beginning of 1953, the German government made payments to the Jewish people as a way of acknowledging the responsibility for the crimes committed against them in their name.